Hi everyone, Justin Jahnz here, and today I'd like to talk with you a little bit about Coal Creek Station, which is GRE's greatest asset. GRE is our wholesale power provider, Great River Energy, and they provide all of the electricity that East Central Energy sells to its membership. Within the last couple of years, Great River Energy has made the decision to do something different with Coal Creek Station. And at one point, they decided to close the power plant, and recently they made the decision to sell it. And that has been met with mixed reviews. Some folks are upset that the plant is being sold. Some are very excited, and in fact wish that it was being closed. So I sat down with Great River Energy's Vice President of Power Supply, John Brekke. And John explains and lays out the reasons for the decision, why it makes sense for Great River Energy and East Central Energy, and kind of explains where we're headed in the future and why it makes sense to sell the plant to a new company to operate. So, without further ado, let's kick it over to John and the interview that I had with him to learn more about the sale of Coal Creek Station.
Good morning, Justin. I'm really happy to be here today, and we're so proud of our partnership with East Central Energy over the years. I'm Vice President of Power Supply with Great River Energy, and the Power Supply Division at GRE is responsible for our generating resources, resource planning, member rates and contracts, and our market activity.
Wonderful. So there's been a lot of attention on the potential transaction of Coal Creek Station. First of all, the closure conversation, and now the transaction to sell it. Tell us a little bit about how that decision came to be, what the top priorities were in the conversation, kind of what precipitated to get us to where we are today.
This decision was driven by a market opportunity that presented itself to us. We looked at the dynamics of what was going on in the market with a lot of renewable resources coming onto the grid, abundant, affordable natural gas driving down electricity prices in the wholesale market. And we acted upon those trends to take advantage of the opportunity to reposition our portfolio. We're also advantaging ourselves by availing ourselves of wind contracts that were driven lower in price because of the production tax credit. So between 2017 and this year, we'll have added over 1,000 megawatts of wind in our portfolio. And it's very affordable for us, a lot, in large part because of the production tax credit. So when we looked at these dynamics, we decided to reduce our carbon risk and do it in a way that actually reduced our forward rate forecast as well. We saw that the market was not recovering the cost of operation of Coal Creek Station, and we moved to reposition ourselves into a renewable future with our peaking plants in Minnesota providing capacity and reliability benefits to our members. So this was all driven by market dynamics, market factors, and the availability of alternative resources.
Wonderful. One of the things I've told our members is that, I think there's a natural political component to this, and folks kind of gravitate towards that. And I think that's true in Minnesota and North Dakota. They're not exactly aligned, maybe politically all the time. But what would you say to folks who are concerned that this was a political move? You talked about market dynamics, but there's also some reliability components to keeping that plant operating, and also some, as you said, financial advantages of adding wind resources. How have those priorities and those political pieces, how have you navigated those as an organization?
This has been a very interesting dynamic for us. Of course, North Dakota is very interested in keeping the jobs at the power plant and the neighboring coal mine. That's critically important for the state of North Dakota and the local community in and around the power plant. At the same time, Minnesota wants to see an increasingly green power supply mix and to reduce carbon in a fairly dramatic way over time. Minnesota is got the 80% carbon reduction goal in state statute. Utilities are well ahead of the curve on that relative to other sectors of the economy, and Great River Energy and East Central Energy are doing better than the average utility on those reduction measures. But what we saw was the importance of achieving a shared vision between the states on the carbon reduction and the use of that DC line. And we struck a deal late in 2021 to put 400 megawatts of wind on that DC line. This will be the first time that renewable energy will be carried on the direct current transmission line 400 miles from North Dakota, a very wind-rich region, into the Twin Cities metropolitan area. And that's in addition to the coal that will be transmitted on that line. And of course, Minnesota's concerned about the carbon impact of that coal. But in this case, we found a partner in the state of North Dakota and in Rainbow Energy Marketing Corporation that are both very interested in carbon reduction through carbon capture and sequestration technology and applying that technology at Coal Creek Station. You know, the state of North Dakota set a goal. The Burgum administration set a goal of 100% carbon neutrality by 2030. The only way that the state of North Dakota achieves that goal is through carbon capture and sequestration. So they're serious about it, and we look forward to their exploration and development of that technology in North Dakota.
Well, that's really exciting, and I think it speaks to the vision that GRE has to provide options and to move forward with the energy transformation that's occurring, nationwide, really, in our country at least. So, what are some potential long-range scenarios that you see happening in North Dakota? And as the new company Rainbow runs that power plant, what do you see for options for GRE as we move forward?
Well, we're excited to be partners with Rainbow on the use of that DC line on some long-term agreements. The first is for the 400 megawatts of wind, and that's a very important part of our portfolio. It'll be our largest single wind resource, and it'll be 25% of our overall wind mix, serving our member cooperatives. In addition to that, we'll be purchasing 328 megawatts of baseload energy and capacity from Rainbow to 2030. So that's an important part of our energy hedge, as well as the capacity or reliability that we maintain. That reduces our coal position from 1,100 megawatts at Coal Creek Station down to 328 megawatts to 2030 and zero thereafter. Now, what will happen during that time? Let's talk for a moment about carbon capture and sequestration. Carbon capture and sequestration requires several very important ingredients in order for you to consider a significant project. One is you have to have state and local support politically to do carbon capture and sequestration. And we've got that in spades in North Dakota.
Nice.
The second is you have to have a party that's interested in deploying the capital and the investment necessary to pull off carbon capture and sequestration. We found that partner in Rainbow. The third is you need a CO2 source that you can count on. If you're going to achieve production tax credit revenues from the federal government, you have to have a steady source of CO2 that you can count on over the period of the tax credits. We've got that at Coal Creek Station, 9 million tons of carbon dioxide emissions a year. Another important ingredient that you need is the right geology for permanent sequestration of the CO2. Well, we've got that as well. It's right underneath the power plant. So all these ingredients come together. And yes, we could have shut down Coal Creek Station and avoided the 9 million tons of CO2 a year, which globally really wouldn't make an impact on CO2 emissions. Or we could sell this power plant to a company located in a state that's very serious about pursuing carbon capture and sequestration, and give it a chance. Give it a chance to work. Give it a chance to be an example for the rest of the world. That could be much more profound in terms of an impact on CO2 reduction than just simply closing one plant.
I love it, John. I think it really speaks to the balanced nature of GRE's approach on this project. I think it again opens the door to future options for GRE while honoring kind of our history and the investment that's been made in Coal Creek Station, and all of the jobs that we've talked about in the past that are there are going to be preserved for the most part, and those folks are going to continue to be a vital part of that county and that community. And so I just think it's a great story all around. Is there anything else that you'd like ECE members to know about this transaction or GRE's path forward?
Well, this transaction represents an historic opportunity to transition our portfolio away from its reliance on carbon and coal and into a wind-rich portfolio of the future that's more flexible and more adaptable to change over time. We're taking advantage of the rich wind region that we enjoy from an energy standpoint, and we're producing that energy in a homegrown fashion, avoiding carbon emissions. GRE in 2005, we had coal. We had 5 coal-fired resources in the portfolio. As of 2031, we'll have 0 left. This is a significant transition for GRE. It's way ahead of the schedule set by the state of Minnesota. And because of the leadership of our member systems, including East Central Energy, we're able to say that we're meeting Minnesota's 80% carbon reduction goal 25 years ahead of schedule.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what, John, we really appreciate the relationship with GRE. It's so great to know that there's so much planning and there's so much forethought that goes into a pretty vital resource in our lives, right? And so I just want to thank you for taking the time today to chat with me, and thank you for your leadership at Great River Energy.
Thank you, Justin. We enjoy working with you as well. Have a great day.
Take care, sir. Well, as you can see, John Brekke is a very smart man, and Great River Energy is in good hands. They're making good decisions that will benefit our members for a long time to come. I was really grateful that he took the time to sit down with me to explain to all of us why the sale of Coal Creek Station makes a lot of sense. At East Central Energy, we're committed to serving you. We're committed to providing good value, and our wholesale power provider is a big part of that. About 60 cents of every dollar that you pay East Central Energy goes to pay for power supply. So these decisions are not small. In fact, they are significant, and they are not made without a lot of thought and intentional conversation about reliability and cost. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you enjoyed hearing more about the future of your cooperative. Have a great day.